When it comes to buying a house in the UK, there are different schemes that the government have put in place to help as many people buy houses in the UK. I think this is just to help as many people, to make it accessible to anybody that wants to buy a house. We've discussed one of those schemes in details on this channel where we talked about how we saved money to buy a house in the UK. I'll try and leave the link to that video in the description box. We got extra money after we've saved a particular amount of money. So in this video, we're telling you about another scheme which is called the Government Help to Buy scheme. This is a scheme that helps first-time buyers to buy their house in the UK, and it's a government scheme and it's going to be ending soon. So we want to share it with you guys so that anybody who wants to buy a house can make use of the opportunity now that it's still available. All right, so please stick with me to the end of this video so you get all that information. If you're new here, you're welcome to my channel. My name is Tochi. You're very much welcome, and I have my husband here, and together we'll be sharing with you guys all about the UK Government Help to Buy scheme that would help you or make it very easy for you to buy a house in the UK. So he will just introduce himself briefly for those who will be seeing him for the first time, and then we'll just dive right into the video.
Hello, my name is Dozie and thanks for watching. So we'll be talking about the Government Help to Buy scheme, and like she said, these are things that the government has put in place in UK to sort of like help people get on the property ladder. And we actually used two of them. We had the lifetime ISA we used during our savings, and we used also the Government Help to Buy scheme as well.
So what is this Government Help to Buy scheme all about?
This Help to Buy scheme is where the government gives you an equity loan to put down as part of your deposit when you want to buy a house. So let me explain how it works. So you can borrow from the government anywhere between 5 to 20% of the value of the property you want to buy if you're buying outside London, and anywhere between 5 to 40% of the value of the property if you're buying within London. And now this equity loan is actually interest free for the first 5 years, so you pay no interest at all on what you borrow from the government to buy your house, completely interest free for the first 5 years. Now note that it is called equity loan, and how it works is that when the government gives you, let's say, 20% of the value of your house, you then have to put down at least 5% of the value of the house. Then you can then borrow the rest from a commercial bank as mortgage, which that's a different arrangement with you and the bank. But the government will give you anywhere between 5 to 20%. Let's use 20% for this example. If the government gives you 20% of the value of your house and you are to bring at least 5% of the value of your house, if you bring that 5%, that makes it 25% the value of your house. So you then need the extra 75% to complete the house purchase. So you have to get that extra 75% as a mortgage from the bank, which has interest. But that 20% the government gives you is totally interest free for the first 5 years. After the first 5 years, you pay about 1.75% interest on what you borrowed. Then I think every year it goes up by some calculations. It's all on the government website. Maybe she'll put the link of that in the description box. It is called equity loan because when the government gives you 20% of the value of your house, when you want to repay, what you repay back to the government is 20% value of your property at the time you want to repay it, not the initial money they gave you. Now, what that means is that let's say you buy a house for £200,000 5 years ago, and today you want to repay back that equity loan from the government. What you do is to get like a surveyor or something like that to come and value your property, the market value of your property. Now when they value your property, whatever it is worth, you have to pay government 20% of the value of your house. So if your house goes up by, let's say, 10%, and you bought the house for £200,000 and it's now valued at £220,000, and when you were buying the house, government gave you £40,000, which is 20% the value of the house. Now what you pay back to government when you're paying back this time around, it's not actually £40,000. So you pay back £44,000 because the house gained 10%. So it's a loan whereby the government is giving you an equity loan, which by giving you that loan, they have an equity in your property. Now, it doesn't mean the property is not yours. It just means you owe government 20% of the value of your house if you took 20% equity loan from them under the Help to Buy scheme at the point you want to buy your house. Now, this scheme also only works if you're buying a brand new house, not a house somebody has lived in and wants to sell. So it has to be a new build, all right? And it has to be from a Help to Buy approved house builder, because not all developers are approved to use this scheme. So it's only for those who are approved to use this scheme. So when you want to go and buy a new house from a developer, they will always put like a sign to say if they can offer you Help to Buy scheme on the house you want to buy or not, right? So you have to make sure that is in place. So the government gives you this money. So what it really does in essence is that you borrow less money from the bank and end up paying less interest, but obviously on the condition that you pay government the extra value of your house. Again, one of the things it does is that, especially for those of us who don't have like permanent residence in the UK, most banks will require you to bring at least 25% the value of your house. That's the truth. If you watched the video we did about how to buy a house in the UK, I mentioned what we call loan to value ratio. So loan to value ratio is the amount of loan you want to take or mortgage you want to take to buy the house. So let's say you put down 10%, the bank gives you 90%. For the bank now, the mortgage is a 90% loan to value ratio. So now most banks demand a higher deposit from most people who don't have like permanent residence in the UK. That's the truth. When you're in the UK for a short period of time, they want to ask you to bring a higher deposit. All right. So if you go with like 5% or 10%, you might find it difficult to get a mortgage. And again, the higher deposit you put down on your house, the less interest you have on the mortgage. If you put down 5% deposit to buy a house, the bank is going to probably give you a mortgage that has a higher interest, or compared to, let's say you bring 20% value of the house. So when you go to apply for mortgage, you'll notice that people who bring 10% or less tend to have a higher interest rate, and if they just increase their deposit by, let's say, 2% to 12%, they will have a lesser interest rate. And if they go up to 15% or 20%, they will also have a lesser interest rate. Now, what this Help to Buy scheme does for you is that if you bring 5% and government brings 20%, the bank will give you 75% of the value of the house, and you will get the interest rate of somebody who has brought 25% deposit. So in a way, you get a lesser interest rate. So for us, we used it and we got 1.85% interest rate on our house. If we didn't use it, we probably would have struggled to get that interest rate on the mortgage. So that's one of the advantage of having Help to Buy scheme. Obviously, it makes it easier for you to get mortgage. Then again is that the houses must be within a particular price cap. I think this is a downside for the Help to Buy scheme. Different parts of England have different price caps. So if the house is above that particular price, you cannot use this scheme. So again, it kind of makes it look like it's for low income earners or people that want to buy, a house. Houses are not too expensive. If you want to go for a big house, you might not have access to this scheme, especially if the house is above that price cap. That's another thing to note. And again is that I think this scheme, to the best of my knowledge, is mostly available in England. I have friends in Scotland and Northern Ireland who have tried to get mortgage and they were told they don't have this scheme there. So as far as I'm aware, correct me if I'm wrong, I think this scheme works only in England. So again, that's another issue to think about. And again, if you're outside London, you can only get 20%. If you're in London, you can get up to 40% the value of your house. And again, the price cap for the London area is a bit high. And that condition is that this house must be your first house and your only house. So again, you see that there's a lot of limitations around this scheme. It's designed in a way to kind of like help people who are struggling to buy property to get property. So it's not built for like people that want to buy property for investment. So if it is your first house, either you or the person you're taking the joint mortgage with, it has to be your first house. If you've bought a house before, you cannot use it again the second time. So please
So
note
like
that.
us now, we can't use it.
So like us that we've used it once, we can't use it again. If we're buying a house that was above the price cap, we wouldn't have been able to use it.
We're
So
buying an old house, won't have been able to.
yeah, and if we're buying an old house, a house that somebody has lived in, even if it is just 6 months old, you can't use it. It has to be a brand new house. You have to be the first occupant of that house. So these are the things around this help to buy scheme. So this scheme ends by 31st of October 2022. So at the moment, it's less than 4 months to go. We thought it was going to end next year actually, but surprisingly, I just checked and I saw that the application to use the scheme must be done by 31st of October 2022. So if you're looking at buying a house, let's say by November or December or even January, and you intend to use this scheme, is worth applying for this help to buy scheme before this date. For us, we applied for it like 4 to 5 months before we moved into our house. So you can apply on time as far as you've seen a house, and if you've seen a house from a developer and secure the plot, all right, then you can apply for this. For us, our mortgage advisor did the application on our behalf, so we didn't sort of get to make the application on us by ourselves. But if it's something you want to use, you can actually apply by yourself, all right.
And you can also start talking to a mortgage advisor.
Yeah, we always advise speak to a mortgage advisor if you want to get a mortgage, because they sort of like would advise you on the best, way to go about it. So if you want to use this scheme, just make sure you do it before October 31st of 2022, or else you might not be able to use it. Okay. I'm assuming that the UK government will probably have a new scheme that they will design to also help people get on the property ladder, but we don't know what that scheme is. We don't know if it's going to come up just in time to replace this one. So if you want to use this one, then it's worth looking into before the end of October. So there are a few other conditions here and there about this scheme. Like if you take a Sharia mortgage, you can't use the scheme. You must be above 18 years. Then also, if you're buying a house in the UK, they're going to ask you, is this your first house? Now that question applies to whether you've bought a house in the UK or outside the UK. So if you said you've owned a house outside the UK, you might not get this help to buy scheme. So you might want to also, make sure that you meet this criteria. All right. So these are some of the conditions around this scheme. And what I think about it is that if you're struggling to raise a substantial deposit for your house in order to get like a fairly good interest rate on your mortgage, then this scheme is worth considering, especially if you're buying a house that is within the price cap. It's worth looking into because it's going to sort of like, at least you don't pay interest for the first 5 years, so you can use that 5 years to save up this money, and whatever is the value of your house, you then pay it back to the government.
So in terms of repayment, how would you advise somebody to pay back their help to buy?
To repay this help to buy scheme, you can only pay back at least 10% the value of your house. You can't pay back 5%. You can't pay back in bits. You have to pay back either 10% or above at once. So it's advisable that you pay it off once, because you need your house to be valued each time you have to repay it. You need to do some paperwork that might cost you money. So instead of having to incur those expenses every time you want to repay back, let's say 10% and another 10%, is worth getting the 10% together and paying it off at once. Another way to repay back this money, if you want to use this scheme, is to, when you're taking your mortgage, try and take a 5-year deal on your mortgage. In fact, I would advise you to take a 5-year deal on your mortgage if you get a reasonable interest rate. Now, interest rates have gone up in the UK as of today. They've gone up in the UK. So it's not really a good time compared to like when we got it last year. When we got it last year, interest rates were really good. People got even less than we did. Now, if you're lucky to have such a good interest rate, I would advise, if you're using help to buy scheme, get a 5 years mortgage. All right. Now, towards the end of your mortgage, you obviously have to remortgage, which is a different conversation entirely. Now, at that point, you can actually get that money from the bank and pay off that help to buy scheme and add it on your mortgage on the bank. All right. So that's another way to pay off your help to buy scheme. If you don't want to save it up, you can actually remortgage your house after 5 years and pay it off. Maybe we'll probably come back here and discuss remortgaging, but we've not remortgaged before. So sort of like it's not really like sharing an experience. It's probably going to be just theoretical knowledge that we have. So it's either you remortgage, get the money from the bank and pay off the government. That's one way. Another way is to save that money up, over the course of that 5 years and pay it off at that point. I would advise to pay off that money before the end of the 5 years because it's interest free, so it's not costing you money, except potentially the value of your house going up, which is something that is a bit debatable. It could be up, it could be down. So I personally would not advise paying it off before the end of that 5 years. I would say wait till the end of the 5 years and you pay it off. And it's best, I will also advise you save it up instead of having to borrow it from the bank, because it will then add to what you borrow from the bank at the point of remortgaging your house, and you have interest to pay on it because the bank won't give it to you interest free. So probably try and know how much it is and spread it over 60 months and save it up and pay off the government when that 5 years is over.
Okay, so we're talking about Help to Buy scheme. What are the limitations? What are the limitations to this Help to Buy scheme in terms of what you can do and cannot do with the house that you bought?
So again, is to note that because the government has equity in this house, you cannot really sort of like modify that house to an extent. Now let me explain. Now if there are disabilities and maybe somebody needs to you're disabled and you need to modify the house to help you cope or stay in the house, I think is allowed, because they sent us a document and I think I read it then, but I forgot some things right now. But you cannot go all out to make major changes to the house. Maybe push down the wall and extend the house or build a conservatory. If you want to do that, you have to get permission from the Help to Buy scheme or something like that. Doesn't mean you cannot do it, just means that you need to let them know, because at the end of the day, all these things add to the value of your house. So when you want to repay the scheme, they have to value the house and minus those changes that have affected the value. Again, is if you buy a house on the Help to Buy scheme, you have to maintain it, you have to keep it to standard. Do you get my point? Because the government in a way has equity in that house, so it kind of feels like you don't own the house, but again, it's your house. Because people have this argument every now and then, but look, it's your house. You're responsible for the house, okay? But because they Help to Buy scheme, there are some clauses here and there about what you can't do, like maybe pulling down the wall to extend the house, building additional structure to the house. Those things are major changes to the house, so you need to speak to Help to Buy. They'll permit you to do it, but when you want to now repay, whoever is going to value the house will value the house and exclude those modifications, and those modifications cannot devalue the house, because if it devalues the house, the government will be losing money, so they may not allow you to do things that will devalue your house. But obviously nobody will want to do things that will make their house worth less than it was when they bought it. So yeah, it feels like it's a limitation, that's the truth. But I feel like for what you gain by using the Help to Buy scheme, which is especially for those of us who don't have permanent residence or what you call it, it's an advantage for us. But if you are a citizen or you have permanent residency and you have enough deposit to get a good mortgage, then that's fine, just own your house. But if you have these things hanging around you, making it difficult for you to go into property ladder, then I think it's a good way to escape that. Then when you repay back your Help to Buy scheme, you can do as you wish, given that it has helped you get a property ahead of maybe schedule. So it has helped you in a way, so it's okay if you can just sort of accept some of the limitations that come with using it.
So yeah, this scheme has helped a lot of people get their house in the UK, and if you want to use this government Help to Buy scheme to get your own house in the UK, make sure you put in your application before 31st of October 2022 this year, because that's when it's ending.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we've come to the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Drop your comments in the comment section for us, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.